Have you been struggling with social anxiety and shyness? Do you want to break free from the feeling of isolation? Like many, I was shy as a child. But it wasn't just shyness, it was intensely painful. I avoided social situations like the plague and barely spoke because of my stutter. My shyness followed me into adulthood. I avoided social situations, fearing the embarrassment of stuttering. Even when my speech improved, I still remained guarded and felt uncomfortable in social settings. It was then that I met someone who changed my approach to my fears. He had a much more severe stutter than mine, but that didn't stop him from interacting with people. I was impressed by his courage and apparent lack of self-consciousness when he introduced himself to me. We talked a bit, and he left an impression I will never forget. He couldn't stop stuttering, but he didn't let that stop him from speaking. Reflecting on that experience taught me valuable lessons about overcoming shyness and social anxiety. They can work for you too, even if you don't stutter. Acknowledge the fear. A common fear for shy people is worrying about what others think of them. For me, it was my speech. But it could be something else, like concerns about physical appearance or intelligence. He could have easily been afraid of how he seemed to me when he introduced himself. If he was, it didn't stop him from engaging me in conversation. I realized that to follow his example, I first needed to acknowledge my fears about how I appeared to others when I spoke. You might be tempted to ignore your feelings, but the more you try, the more the anxiety grows. The first step to freedom is acknowledging the fear, no matter how silly or insignificant it may seem. When you do this, something interesting happens. You realize that you're probably more concerned about your own quirks than others are. This realization will give you the strength and courage to start overcoming them. Embrace the embarrassment. Yes, it's painful. No one likes to embarrass themselves in public, but it will happen. As a stutterer, I felt incredibly embarrassed by my speech on many occasions. I would be speaking fluently only to be struck by a block. Some episodes were so bad that it felt like I was having convulsions. Needless to say, this made me wary of speaking in public. I was afraid of embarrassing myself, but he didn't seem to have that problem. It made me think, what if I embraced the potential for embarrassment instead of running from it? The more I exposed myself to potentially embarrassing situations, the braver and more resilient I became. This can happen to you too if you're willing to face your greatest fear that's keeping you from interacting with others. Think of the worst-case scenario. Is it a life or death situation? If not, you'll recover and become stronger because of it. You'll engage in conversations more easily than you'll stay on the sidelines. Challenge your perceptions. We place many irrational expectations on ourselves when entering social interactions. Somehow, we believe that social conventions demand a person to be highly intelligent, witty, and entertaining in every conversation. I tried to be all those things for everyone in the past, and failed miserably because I wasn't being myself. I was trying to be what I thought others wanted me to be. Instead of choosing to be fluent or silent, Tom chose to be himself. His powerful example made me ask, would I demand the same ridiculous standards from others that I imposed on myself? Probably not. Do you believe you need to be smart, witty, and entertaining in every social interaction? Challenge those perceptions. Most people can see through inauthentic encounters. Just be yourself. People will appreciate you for who you are. And if they don't, you probably won't see them again, or at least not for long. So don't worry about it. Focus on others. While talking with my friend, I noticed how much he encouraged me to talk about myself. I got the impression that he was genuinely interested in me and my story. He helped me realize how hyper-focused I was on myself and what others might or might not think of me. To break the spell of self-absorption, I needed to focus on helping others. When I stepped out of my own world, I realized that others had similar fears about what people thought of them. This caused a significant shift in my thinking. Instead of struggling to feel comfortable, I focused on helping others feel comfortable with kind words and a warm smile. I learned to listen to them attentively and to genuinely care about what they had to say. So, if you aspire to be a good conversationalist, be a good listener. To be interesting, be interested. Ask questions that others will enjoy answering. Encourage them to talk about themselves and their achievements. Start small. Sometimes we think that to overcome our shyness, we need to do big things like speaking in front of hundreds of people or starting a conversation with everyone we meet. My friend didn't try to give long speeches. His sentences were short and to the point. I started modeling his behavior by using fewer words and simpler language. Over time, I felt more comfortable speaking for longer periods. You can start overcoming shyness by taking small steps. If groups of 3 or more people seem too intimidating, try introducing yourself to one person who might be looking for company. If making eye contact feels too difficult right now, try focusing on an area near their eyes instead of looking down. You'll begin to make gradual progress and will feel more confident in larger social settings. Practice self-compassion. Overcoming social anxiety won't be easy, and you'll have moments when you fall back into old habits. My stuttering has decreased significantly over the years, but sometimes it returns in full force when I'm anxious or tired. Or sometimes it happens randomly. Sometimes I avoid social situations when my confidence is low. When I'm tempted to be hard on myself for not succeeding, I remind myself of how patient my friend was with himself while struggling to speak. He didn't get angry. He simply took a moment to regain his composure and try again. I remind myself that I can also be kinder and more patient with myself when my fear of social interaction returns. If you're struggling with setbacks, practice self-compassion. Be patient and kind with yourself on your journey to freedom. Don't be tempted to give up when you're feeling down. You have more courage than you think. So far, you may have allowed your shyness to keep you from meeting people in social settings. You mistakenly thought you weren't interesting enough, important enough, or brave enough to be in the company of others. You've been in a state of self-imposed exile, but you have more courage than you think. It's time to come out of your shell. It's time to exercise your courage. It's time to step up so others can meet and appreciate you for who you are. The sheer power of your presence can brighten someone's day or even change that person's, and your own, life for the better. If you identified with these tips and want more content to overcome social anxiety and shyness, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Together, we can learn and grow by sharing stories and strategies for a more confident and fulfilling life. Click the subscribe button below and join our community. We look forward to having you here.